Right now, billions of people are watching the same event, the World Cup, the biggest sporting spectacle in human history. The matches, the goals, the drama, that is the part everyone sees, but behind the spectacle is a business model so effective and so one-sided that it might be the most successful commercial arrangement ever designed. An organization that is legally registered as a non-profit, that pays almost no tax anywhere it operates, that takes in billions from every tournament, while the countries hosting it carry nearly all of the costs. This is the hidden business behind the World Cup, and once you see how it works, you will never watch a tournament the same way again. The World Cup is unlike anything else in global culture. The Olympics come close. The Super Bowl is enormous in America, but nothing gathers the sustained attention of the entire planet quite like a month of World Cup football. More than half of humanity watched at least part of the last tournament. The 2026 edition, hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, is the biggest ever staged. 48 teams, 104 matches, 16 host cities across 3 countries. The numbers being projected are staggering. Record broadcast audiences, record sponsorship, record ticket revenue. For the host cities, the tournament arrives wrapped in promises. Tourism windfalls, global exposure, new infrastructure, economic transformation. That is the story told at every announcement ceremony. That is the story told in every bid presentation, in every press conference. The actual financial machinery underneath works very differently. Here is the fact that surprises almost everyone. FIFA, the organization that owns the World Cup, is registered under Swiss law as a non-profit association, the same legal category as a local chess club or a village choir. This non-profit generated over $7.5 billion in its last full World Cup cycle. It sits on cash reserves of several billion more, and for the 2026 tournament, it is targeting the largest revenue haul in the history of organized sport. Meanwhile, the cities hosting the matches are paying for stadium upgrades, security, transport, and services, out of public money, a non-profit that keeps the billions. Host cities that keep the bills. How is that possible? To understand the business, follow the money, because World Cup money flows through 3 enormous pipes. The first and largest is broadcasting. Television and streaming rights for the World Cup are sold country by country. Networks pay hundreds of millions. In the largest markets, well over $1 billion across a cycle, for the right to show the matches. Why? Because the World Cup is one of the last events on Earth that everyone watches live, at the same time. In an age of fragmented attention, that is the rarest commodity in media. And every one of those broadcast contracts is signed with FIFA. The rights belong entirely to FIFA. The second pipe is sponsorship. The world's biggest brands pay tens of millions each for official partner status. Those contracts, again, are signed with FIFA. The host nations receive none of that sponsorship revenue. The third pipe is tickets and hospitality, millions of match tickets. Premium hospitality packages selling for thousands of dollars each. Licensing fees on every official product sold worldwide. FIFA controls and collects effectively all of it. Add the 3 pipes together, and a single tournament cycle generates more revenue than most global corporations. All of it flowing to a non-profit association headquartered in Zurich. An association that, under the terms it negotiates, pays little to no tax on that revenue. Not in Switzerland, and not in the host countries either. Because tax exemption is not an accident of the system, it is a requirement of it. The obvious question is, surely the hosts make their money back. Surely a month of global attention, millions of visiting fans, and packed stadiums produces an economic windfall that justifies the investment. That is certainly the promise. Independent economists have spent decades testing it. The results are remarkably consistent and remarkably uncomfortable. Consider Brazil in 2014. The country spent an estimated $11 to $15 billion preparing for its World Cup, on stadiums, airports, transport, and security. 12 stadiums were built or comprehensively rebuilt. Several of them, in cities without major football clubs, hosted a handful of matches and then had no viable use at all. The stadium in Manaus, deep in the Amazon, cost around $300 million. After the tournament, it hosted almost nothing. At one point, it was being used as a bus depot. South Africa in 2010 tells the same story. Billions spent, world-class stadiums delivered, several of which now sit chronically underused, costing millions each year just to maintain. Qatar in 2022 took the model to its extreme. Total infrastructure spending associated with the tournament has been estimated at over $200 billion, the most expensive event of any kind ever staged. And the promised tourism boom? Studies repeatedly find that World Cups largely displace tourism rather than add to it. Football fans arrive, and regular tourists, deterred by crowds and prices, stay away. The pattern across host after host is the same. The costs are real, immediate, and public. The benefits are diffuse, delayed, and, for the biggest single revenue streams, belong to somebody else entirely. So here is the actual arrangement, stripped of the ceremony. FIFA owns the tournament. The host provides the tournament. The host builds or upgrades the stadiums. The host provides the security. The host upgrades the airports and the transport. The host staffs the courts, the police, the emergency services. The host even grants FIFA and its partners sweeping tax exemptions, because that is a standard condition of being awarded the tournament at all. And then FIFA collects the broadcast money, the sponsorship money, and the ticket revenue. The single most valuable event in sport, structured so that the owner takes the income and the venue takes the expense. It is, commercially speaking, a masterpiece, just not for the hosts. The natural next question is the most interesting one. If the deal is this lopsided, why do countries keep fighting for it? Why do heads of state fly to Zurich? Why do cities compete for years, spending millions just on the bid process itself? The answer reveals how the machine sustains itself. The first reason is political. A World Cup is the most visible thing a government can deliver. Stadiums are photographed. Opening ceremonies are broadcast to billions. The politicians who secure a tournament collect the prestige immediately. The bills, meanwhile, arrive over the following decade, usually on somebody else's watch. The benefits are concentrated and immediate. The costs are diffuse and delayed. In political terms, that is an irresistible trade. The second reason is emotional, and it is genuine. Hosting the World Cup means something to a nation that no spreadsheet captures: pride, visibility, a place at the center of the world. FIFA understands this perfectly. It is not selling a sporting event, it is selling national identity. The third reason is structural, and it is the cleverest part of the entire system. FIFA has over 200 member football associations. Each one, from the largest footballing nations to the smallest island federations, receives development funding from FIFA's central pot. For many smaller associations, that funding is their primary source of income. Their survival depends on it. Those same associations that vote on FIFA's leadership, which means the organization distributing the money is elected by the recipients of the money. Whatever you think of that arrangement, understand what it produces: an institution that answers to its internal electorate, not to the host cities paying the bills, and not to the fans buying the tickets. There is no external force with both the power and the incentive to change the terms. So, the cycle repeats. A new host is chosen, the promises are made, FIFA banks the revenue, and 4 years later, it begins again. Which brings us to the tournament happening right now. The 2026 World Cup is the largest scale-up in the event's history. 48 teams instead of 32. 104 matches instead of 64. 3 host countries instead of 1. More matches means more broadcast inventory. More inventory means more advertising. Every element of the expansion increases FIFA's revenue. To its credit, the 2026 model fixed one part of the old problem. The hosts already had world-class stadiums. But the other side of the ledger remains fully intact. Host cities are covering enormous security operations, transport upgrades, and public services, with public money. Estimates for individual cities run into the hundreds of millions. The tax exemptions remain a condition of hosting. The broadcast billions, the sponsorship billions, and the ticket revenue still flow to Zurich. FIFA is publicly targeting record revenue from this cycle, figures well beyond anything in the organization's history. None of this makes the football less real. The matches are magnificent. The emotion is genuine. The month of shared global attention is one of the few things that still unites the planet. That is precisely what makes the model so effective. The product is joy, and the machine underneath it is invisible, because nobody is looking down while the game is on. Could the arrangement ever be rebalanced? There are forces pushing at it. Investigative journalism and criminal prosecutions over the past decade exposed corruption inside football's governing structures and forced genuine reforms. New leadership, new compliance rules, more published accounts. Host candidates have grown more cautious. Multiple European cities have withdrawn from bidding for major events in recent years after public referendums rejected the costs. The pool of willing hosts is thinner than it once was. The multi-country hosting model spreads costs across several nations and relies on existing stadiums. That is a real improvement. It reduces the most catastrophic form of waste. But look carefully at what has not changed. The revenue still belongs entirely to FIFA. The costs still belong to the hosts. The tax exemptions are still required. The governance still answers inward, not outward. The reforms have made the machine cleaner and smarter. They have not changed who it works for. And as long as there are nations willing to pay for a month at the center of the world, the terms will not change. Because the scarcest thing in the arrangement was never the money. It was the tournament itself, and only one organization owns it. There is a pattern that appears everywhere once you learn to see it. The most powerful position in any system is not owning the product. It is owning the platform the product cannot exist without. The teams change, the players change, the hosts change every 4 years. The owner of the tournament never changes. FIFA built something genuinely unique, the only event the whole world watches together. And then it structured the world's access so that the attention, the emotion, and the infrastructure are supplied by everyone else. While the revenue flows to one address in Zurich, that is not a scandal, it is a design, and it has worked without interruption for generations. Tonight, hundreds of millions of people will watch a football match. They will see the goals, the saves, the drama. They will not see the broadcast contracts, the tax exemptions, the security bills landing on city budgets. The spectacle is designed to be seen. The machine is designed not to be. One organization, registered as a non-profit, owning the only event on Earth that everyone watches, collecting the billions. That is a very different kind of power. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe.